1985, Athens. A Mercedes W123 taxi rolls in with 2.9 million kilometers on its original engine. Mechanics gape, but back in Stuttgart, executives panic. These cars won't die, and customers aren't buying new ones. Ford faced the same with Crown Victorias, Toyota with Land Cruisers. Vehicles so reliable they destroyed repeat sales. The solution? Kill your best products before they kill profits. Today we reveal 12 cars that didn't fail. They succeeded too well. Machines so bulletproof they became a business problem. Stick around. Number 1 is literally banned in America for being too good. Number 12, Pontiac Vibe, Toyota Matrix, 2003 to 2010. GM killed the Vibe in 2010, and if corporate murder was illegal, this would be Exhibit A. Here was a car that was basically a Toyota Corolla wearing a Pontiac Halloween costume, built in California's NUMMI plant, where Toyota taught GM how to actually build cars that worked. Under the hood sat Toyota's 1.8-liter 1Z FE inline-4, making 126 to 132 horsepower, the same engine that powers Corollas to 300,000 plus miles, while GM's engines were still figuring out how to make it past warranty. The beautiful irony? GM was contractually obligated to build these using Toyota's manufacturing methods, which meant the Vibe was the only GM product that didn't spontaneously combust or require a second mortgage for repairs. Owners were hitting 250,000 miles with nothing more than oil changes and tire rotations, while every other GM vehicle was keeping mechanics' kids in private school. The problem wasn't that the Vibe was unreliable, it's that it was too reliable. When warranty claims came in at a fraction of other GM vehicles, accountants started asking uncomfortable questions like, why doesn't everything we build work this well? The answer was too embarrassing to admit. Here's the corporate assassination motive. The Vibe made everything else in GM's lineup look like garbage by comparison. When one car in your showroom actually works while the rest require prayer and duct tape, you don't fix the bad ones. You kill the good one to eliminate the evidence. Clean Vibes now sell for $6,000 to $12,000 and appear on every most reliable used cars list, proving that when Toyota engineering meets GM badges, Toyota wins every time. Number 11, Honda Element, 2003 to 2011. Honda murdered the Element in 2011, claiming changing market demands, which is corporate speak for this thing refuses to break and we're losing money. Here was a vehicle that looked like a toaster had relations with a Lego brick, yet became cult beloved because it was engineered like Honda expected owners to drive it through war zones. Under the hood sat the 2.4-liter K24A inline-4, making 166 horsepower, an engine so overbuilt that mechanics would open them at 300,000 miles expecting carnage and finding components that looked factory fresh. Honda designed the Element assuming buyers would treat it worse than a rental car driven by someone who just got dumped. Rubber floors you could hose out like a barn. Plastic interior panels that laughed at abuse. A body structure so rigid it made bank vaults feel insecure. The suicide doors used hinges engineered like aircraft components. Door seals tested for 500,000 cycles. Seat mechanisms validated for 100,000 adjustments. Even the cup holders were engineered with absurd redundancy that would make German engineers nod approvingly. The death sentence? Element owners kept them forever. Average ownership exceeded 12 years, when industry standard was 5 to 7. Dog owners bought them and never replaced them. Contractors loved them because you could throw construction debris in back without guilt. Honda couldn't sell new Elements because old owners were still driving the ones they bought in 2003. When nothing breaks, nobody buys replacements. Clean Elements command $10,000 to $18,000 with high mileage. Number 10, Toyota Tacoma, 1995 to 2004. Toyota killed the first-gen Tacoma after 2004, then immediately improved it with frame rust issues that would make conspiracy theorists blush. Under the hood sat the legendary 3.4-liter 5VZ FEV6, making 190 horsepower. The same engine and 4Runners that refused to die even when owners actively tried through neglect. First-gen Tacomas were rolling around with 400,000 plus miles on frames that looked factory fresh, while second-gen trucks were getting frame replacements under recall at 100,000 miles. Either Toyota's engineers forgot how to prevent rust, or they remembered exactly how and chose not to. The engineering was almost suspiciously good, frames that didn't rust despite living in salt belt states, where winter means 6 months of chemical warfare on metal. The 5VZF EV6 needed only timing belt changes every 90,000 miles, and would deliver 500,000 miles like it was barely trying. Everything was simple enough to fix with basic tools and YouTube videos. Then 2005 arrived, and suddenly Toyota's trucks started developing problems that conveniently required expensive repairs or complete replacement. Was this coincidence or business strategy dressed as improvement? Here's the uncomfortable truth. First-gen owners kept trucks for 15 to 20 years because they simply wouldn't die. That's disaster for companies requiring 7 to 10-year replacement cycles for profitability. The solution was elegant and evil. Make the new version bigger, more powerful, and coincidentally more profitable to replace when frames rust through. First-generation Tacomas with 250,000 plus miles sell for $15,000 to $25,000, often more than second-gen trucks with half the mileage. Number 9. Subaru Legacy Outback 2.5i, 1995 to 2004. Subaru killed the Bulletproof EJ25 engine after 2004, replacing it with versions that developed head gasket failures with Swiss train schedule predictability. The 1995 to 2004 2.5-liter EJ25, naturally aspirated flat 4 making 165 horsepower, was so reliable that Subaru apparently had meetings about how this was problematic for long-term profitability. These engines crossed 250,000 miles, needing only timing belts every 105,000 miles, which meant owners weren't visiting dealers except for oil changes. And that's terrible for service revenue that keeps dealerships profitable. Then came the upgrade. Dual overhead cam EJ25s that mysteriously started requiring 2,500 head gasket replacements every 100,000 miles with such regularity that mechanics started calling it planned maintenance rather than failure. Forum posts are full of Subaru owners joking about head gasket replacements being subscription services you pay whether you want them or not. Was this engineering incompetence, or was it brilliance disguised as incompetence? Because the earlier engines didn't have these problems. They just ran forever while generating zero service revenue. The excuse was better performance and emissions compliance. The reality was repair bills that didn't exist on earlier versions, but now appeared with calendar-like regularity around 100,000 miles. When your improvement requires expensive repairs at predictable intervals, while the older version just worked indefinitely, that's not progress. That's monetization disguised as advancement. Clean 1995 to 2004 models now sell for $4,000 to $10,000 specifically because buyers are avoiding the head gasket lottery of newer versions. Number 8. Volvo 240, 1974 to 1993. Volvo killed the 240 in 1993 after a 19-year production run, so long it embarrassed companies replacing entire model lines every 5 years like clockwork. Under the hood sat the legendary B230F, 2.3-liter inline 4, making 114 horsepower, power numbers that sound pathetic until you realize these engines hit 500,000 plus miles with maintenance so simple that teenagers fixed them in high school shop class using nothing but determination and a Haynes manual bought at AutoZone for $20. The engineering philosophy was brutally simple. Build everything 3 times stronger than necessary because warranty claims are basically admitting defeat to customers and shareholders. Mechanical everything meant repairs required wrenches, not computer diagnostics costing thousands. The result was a car that looked like a refrigerator designed by depressed Swedes, drove like a tractor with pretensions, and lasted longer than most marriages, which became Volvo's problem when customers bought one and drove it for 20 plus years. That's business disaster when your profit model requires repeat purchases every 5 to 7 years. Here's what killed it. Volvo couldn't justify building cars with 1970s profit margins when they could sell newer models with higher prices and built-in obsolescence that required replacement. When Ford bought Volvo in 1999, they immediately started adding complexity and electronics that coincidentally required dealer service rather than driveway repairs. Clean 240 Orse now command $8,000 to $18,000 because buyers recognize that Volvo's attempts to improve the 240 made everything worse. Number 7. Mercedes-Benz W123, 1976 to 1985. Mercedes killed the W123 in 1985 and immediately started cost-cutting that would eventually turn Mercedes from engineering religion into expensive Chrysler with better marketing. These sedans were so absurdly over-engineered that Mercedes engineers reportedly used twice the necessary steel in critical areas, causing accountants to develop stress disorders calculating losses per vehicle sold. Under the hood, the legendary OM6173.0-liter 5-cylinder diesel, making 77 to 120 horsepower, became famous for running 600,000 plus miles in taxi service, while barely noticing it had been working for decades. The W123 represented Mercedes before they remembered they were supposed to be a business generating profits rather than engineering monuments. Body panels thick enough to deflect small arms fire in unstable regions. Doors that weighed as much as modern hoods and closed with a sound that made bank vaults jealous of the precision. Paint applied in so many layers that restoration shops still can't figure out the exact process decades later. Every component was tested to destruction, then redesigned to be even stronger, because apparently Mercedes engineers viewed mechanical failure as personal insult requiring vendetta-level response. Here's the uncomfortable accounting reality. Mercedes lost money on every W123 sold because the engineering costs and materials quality was economically insane by business standards. When W123 taxis started appearing, with 600,000 plus miles still running perfectly, Mercedes executives realized customers weren't replacing them. The solution was the W124 successor, using cheaper materials and strategic cost-cutting. W123s now sell for $15,000 to $45,000. Often more than newer Mercedes. Number 6. Toyota Land Cruiser 70 Series, 1984 to present. Toyota killed the 70 Series in North America, and if you want to understand corporate priorities, here's your case study. This truck is still produced for developing nations where vehicles must actually work, but Toyota refuses to sell it in America because it lasts too long. Under the hood sits the 4.5-liter 1FZFE, inline 6 making 212 horsepower, or 4.5-liter 1VDF-TV turbo diesel making 202 horsepower. Both engines famous for running 500,000 plus miles with maintenance, consisting mainly of oil changes and occasional prayer, which is technically optional. The 70 Series served with military forces in over 100 countries, aid organizations in actual war zones where failure means death, and mining operations in places where remote means you will die if this breaks. These trucks survive desert heat that melts lesser vehicles, jungle humidity that rusts steel overnight, mountain cold that freezes modern electronics solid, and abuse that would make engineers cry into their safety-tested components. Toyota's problem: they build it too well for modern business models. Customers in developing nations buy one and drive it for 30-plus years because it refuses to die. Here's why Toyota won't sell it in America. It's too simple for modern regulations. But the real reason is profitability mathematics. A 70 Series costs roughly the same to build as a modern Land Cruiser, but lasts 3 times as long, destroying the 7-year replacement cycle. Toyota would rather sell a $90,000 Land Cruiser lasting 15 years than a $60,000 truck lasting 30-plus years. Used imported 70 Series sell for $50,000 to $80,000, often more than new. Number 5. Jeep Cherokee XJ, 1984 to 2001. Chrysler killed the XJ in 2001, replacing it with the Liberty, a vehicle that proved you can make something prettier and more comfortable while simultaneously making it worse at everything that actually matters. Under the hood sat the legendary 4.0-liter inline 6, making 190 horsepower, an AMC design engine so indestructible that Jeep engineers joked about needing to actively try to make it fail. They tried multiple times, it didn't work. These motors hit 300,000 plus miles with maintenance, consisting mainly of oil changes, and aggressively ignoring warning lights because none of them meant anything actually serious. The XJ's unibody construction was revolutionary engineering that combined lighter weight with better rigidity than body-on-frame competitors using outdated designs. The engineering was gloriously simple. Mechanical transfer case you could fix with a hammer and determination, solid axles that laughed at complexity and electronic failures, and zero electronic systems waiting to fail at inconvenient moments requiring dealer diagnostics. When things eventually broke, because entropy is universal and affects all mechanical systems, you fix them with basic tools rather than dealer diagnostics, costing more than the vehicle's entire worth. Here's what earned the death sentence. The XJ was too capable and too reliable for Chrysler's business model, requiring repair revenue and replacement sales to maintain profitability. The cult following, the self-proclaimed XJ Mafia, kept these trucks forever, modifying them and refusing to buy replacements. When your customer base treats your product like religion and never replaces them, that's business failure. XJs with 200,000 plus miles sell for $8,000 to $18,000. Sometimes more than original MSRP. Number 4. Ford Ranger, 1998 to 2011. Ford killed the Ranger in 2011, and the official excuse was changing market demands, which is executive speak for, we need to force people into more expensive trucks with better profit margins. Under the hood sat the 4.0-liter Cologne V6, making 207 horsepower, an engine with lineage traced back to Ford's German division in 1962, refined over 5 decades into near perfection that crossed 300,000 miles while barely noticing it had worked a day in its life or suffered any significant abuse from owners. The final Ranger represented peak simple truck engineering before complexity became mandatory. Solid rear axle that actually worked without electronic intervention, body-on-frame constructions that survived abuse, and mechanical systems you could understand and fix with YouTube videos and optimism rather than dealer diagnostics. The 4.0 V6 featured timing chains instead of belts, eliminating expensive $1,000 services. Push rod design, meaning repairs, were straightforward for shade tree mechanics, and cast iron construction providing durability. Aluminum engines fundamentally cannot match regardless of marketing claims about weight savings. Here's the assassination motive. Rangers lasted too long and were too affordable, which was disaster for Ford's profit margins, requiring higher-priced vehicle sales. F-150s cost substantially more and generated better profits, so Ford needed customers buying $40,000-plus trucks rather than $20,000 Rangers they'd drive for 15 years. By discontinuing the Ranger, Ford forced compact truck buyers into F-150s or competitors. Rangers with 250,000-plus miles sell for $10,000 to $18,000, often double their 2011 price. Number 3. Toyota Tacoma PreRunner, 2001 to 2004. Toyota murdered the PreRunner after 2004, eliminating a rear-wheel drive option that was perfect for 90% of truck buyers in favor of forcing everyone into more expensive four-wheel drive models they'd never use outside pavement. The PreRunner featured 4x4 suspension and ground clearance with rear-wheel drive simplicity, exactly what actual truck buyers needed, versus what marketing departments claimed they wanted based on focus group fantasies. Under the hood sat the Bulletproof 3.4-liter 5VZF EV6, making 190 horsepower, the same engine that refused to die in everything Toyota installed it in, regardless of abuse. The engineering brilliance was in what it didn't have. No transfer case to fail, no front differential to service, no CV axles to replace, no complexity waiting to break at expensive moments requiring dealer intervention. Just simple rear-wheel drive reliability with truck styling and capability that satisfied everyone except hardcore off-roaders who could buy the 4x4 version instead. These trucks delivered 20-plus miles per gallon while providing ground clearance and capability actual humans actually needed in real-world usage scenarios. The result was a truck that lasted forever because there was less to break. Here's the forced upselling strategy. PreRunner buyers weren't upgrading to more expensive 4x4 models because PreRunners did everything they needed without additional complexity. They bought PreRunners, drove them for 15 to 20 years, and never returned to dealerships except for oil changes. Toyota needed to push customers toward higher-margin 4x4 models. By eliminating the PreRunner, Toyota forced buyers into more expensive trucks. PreRunners with 250,000-plus miles sell for $15,000 to $22,000, often more than newer Tacomas. Number 2. Honda Ridgeline, 2006 to 2014. Honda killed the first-gen Ridgeline after 2014, replacing it with a second-gen version that looks conventional and coincidentally has more traditional truck problems, which is exactly what you'd expect when companies prioritize appearance over engineering. The original was weird. Unibody construction, independent rear suspension, trunk under the bed, but it refused to die, which became Honda's problem when owners kept them forever. Under the hood sat the 3.5-liter J35 V6, making 250 horsepower, the same engine powering Odysseys and Pilots to 300,000-plus miles with maintenance consisting mainly of oil changes. The first-gen's engineering was revolutionary for pickups. Unibody construction eliminated the frame rust plaguing every competitor. Independent suspension delivered car-like ride, quality actual humans appreciated, and the transverse V6 provided ample power with better packaging efficiency. The bed's composite material wouldn't rust or dent even when abused. The in-bed trunk was actually useful rather than marketing gimmick. The whole package drove like a comfortable car while functioning like a truck for the 90% of buyers who never towed more than 5,000 pounds or drove off-road beyond parking on grass. Here's what killed it. Traditional truck buyers called it ugly and refused to buy it despite objectively superior engineering. Honda's marketing failed to connect with truck buyers who valued appearance over substance. Sales were modest, but owners kept them forever because they were Hondas. They just worked. When Honda redesigned it for 2017, they made it look conventional. First-gen Ridgeline sell for $12,000 to $22,000. Number 1. Toyota Hilux Diesel, all generations. The absolute vehicle too good to survive in America is the Toyota Hilux Diesel, a truck so legendarily indestructible that Toyota refuses to sell it in the United States because it would destroy profit margins by lasting too long. Under the hood sits various diesel engines depending on generation, but all share one characteristic. They run 500,000 plus miles with maintenance so basic that mechanics in war zones keep them running with hand tools, determination, and occasionally violence when persuasion fails. The Hilux Diesel is the vehicle of choice for humanitarian organizations in the world's worst places and military forces in developing nations where failure equals death rather than inconvenience. BBC's Top Gear famously tried to murder one, drowned it in ocean salt water overnight, set it on fire, dropped it from a crane, hit it with a wrecking ball, then placed it on top of a building that was demolished. The damn thing still started. That's not marketing exaggeration. That's engineering so robust it seems physically impossible until you see it working. Here's why Toyota won't sell it in America. It's too simple and too reliable for modern profit models. The Hilux Diesel uses mechanical injection requiring zero computers, body-on-frame construction overbuilt for extreme conditions, and engineering prioritizing function over comfort. American emissions regulations theoretically prevent sales, but the real reason is profit. A truck lasting 30-plus years destroys business models requiring repeat purchases every 7 to 10 years. Imported used Hilux diesels sell for $20,000 to $45,000, often more than new Tacomas. There you have it, 12 cars killed for being too good. From GM murdering badge-engineered Toyotas to Toyota banning the Hilux from America, these prove planned obsolescence is business strategy, not conspiracy. Thanks for watching. Check out our video on cars people sold and regret. Hit subscribe. We expose what manufacturers hide. They know how to build forever cars. They choose not to because your repeat business beats your satisfaction.